Hi, this is Lisa from Endorphina Creative. Welcome to this week's Stressless Meditation and Self-Reflection segment with our topic today, Habits of Healthy Imperfection. Being overly critical, dismissive, judgmental, or in any other way antagonistic towards ourselves, our bodies, or our performance or present life circumstances is not the path to happiness, relaxation, or finding fulfillment in life. In fact, it is only evidence that you have been surrounded by individuals who programmed your subconscious mind with negative beliefs like I am not good enough, I'm a failure, or I am a disappointment. When we are attempting to shed habits of unhealthy perfectionism, we need to learn to recognize when we are participating in negative self-talk and feeding toxic emotions that lead to low self-esteem or feelings of disempowerment. In today's video, we will soften the impact of our inner critic and do our best to embrace healthy imperfection. And we will get started with a little self-reflection exercise, which will be followed by a guided meditation. And our first step is to determine how strong your habits of unhealthy perfectionism actually are. A really easy way to determine this is to score our answers to 5 different questions. Being honest about internal habits of self-sabotage is the first step towards changing your ways and becoming kinder towards yourself and more accepting of your imperfect nature. And our first question is, how critical are you towards yourself? How strong is the voice of your inner critic, perhaps telling you that you don't measure up to the standards that someone else has set for you? And we will score the negative impact of your inner critic on a scale from 0 to 20. 20 is the score for the most critical inner critic you can possibly think of, and 0 is an inner critic who is completely silent. What's your score? How powerful is your inner critic? If you can write down your score or try to remember it. Question number 2. How unattainable are the standards you compare yourself to? A sign of healthy imperfection is to set attainable goals. However, many individuals who suffer from perfectionism set goals that are unrealistic and out of reach. So score yourself on a scale from 0 to 20 as to how unattainable your goals are. If you are never happy with your results, even if they are good results, chances are that your standards are out of whack and way too high. If that is the case, give yourself a score higher than 10. If you do set only realistic goals for yourself and you are generally happy about your successes and progress, you can score somewhere below 10. And once again, write down your score and add up your first 2 scores. Question number 3. How much pressure do you put on yourself to be perfect? If you are someone who feels like they can hardly breathe under the weight of expectation, you will most likely score yourself higher than 10 on our scale from 0 to 20. Once you have assessed your score, write it down and add up your 3 scores. Question number 4. How big is your fear of failure? Are you someone who is afraid to make mistakes or who beats up on themselves if someone else criticized you for something you did wrong? Perhaps you even have trouble sleeping because your anxiety levels are through the roof before an exam. Ask yourself, how much are you afraid of failing? And you can tell how afraid you are by how many negative emotions you would feel just thinking about failing. If you have strong emotions around failing, score yourself higher than a 10 out of 20. And then add up your 4 different scores so far. And now to our last question. How much energy do you invest in appearing perfect to others? And this includes how much energy you invest in attaining a perfect body, a perfect mind, perfect accomplishments, perfect scores, perfect outcomes. How important is it that you appear perfect to others, no matter who they are? If it is very important and you fear being humiliated or seen as imperfect, score yourself higher than 10 out of 20. And once you have scored yourself, add up all of your scores. You will now have a score out of 100, which tells you exactly what the percentage of your unhealthy perfectionism is. And if you scored higher than 50, you may want to consider how much unhealthy perfectionism is really interfering with your joy, fulfillment, and happiness levels, and perhaps think about making some changes in the attitude you have towards yourself and your performance. This can include releasing negative self talk, practicing gratitude and self compassion, and letting go of guilt and shame. Before we dive into our guided meditation, here are 3 general tips or suggestions that can help you to embrace yourself just as you are. Tip number 1: use affirmations. There are many affirmations that you could use, but if you can't think of any, use the affirmation, I am enough. I deserve to treat myself with kindness. My best is good enough, and my worst is good enough. Tip number 2: increase your levels of gratitude and appreciation. You can either use a gratitude journal to write down all the aspects of your life that you're grateful for, or you can appreciate things in the moment by saying out loud, this is so beautiful, or what a wonderful morning, what a wonderful flower, cat, car, haircut, color, book cover, phone wallpaper. If you inject your life with more positivity, you will give less airtime to your inner critic. Tip number 3: become more mindful. The more time you spend connecting with the here and now, the less time you spend focusing on the past or on past failures or ruminating about the future or future outcomes. Take more time for conscious breathing and exploring your surroundings through the senses. You don't even have to meditate to do this, just spend more time in nature, play with your pet more, listen to the birds in the park, or sit down in the grass. Before we relax now with the guided meditation part, begin by closing your eyes and simply breathe. Breathing in and out like you would do all day. Breathing in and out like you do all night while you're sleeping. Like your body does for you so willingly all the time. Breathing in and out. Calming down your nervous system while you're breathing calmly. Relaxing your body while you're breathing in your own rhythm. Calming your emotions while you're breathing. Slowing down your thoughts as you're breathing. Letting go of your troubles right here in this moment. And because we are going to embrace healthy imperfection today, we are going to give our high standards a rest. Send your high standards on a holiday without you. Where would your high standards like to go on a holiday? And wherever that is, simply let them go there. Give them a tour guide and impeccable 5-star service. Give them everything they want so you can have a break while they are on holiday. And you can have a rest without your standards. Simply being, resting, connecting, checking in, and without your high standards around. How are you? How are you feeling? Think of an activity or circumstance that would make you feel better than you are currently feeling. Think of a place that could completely relax and calm you. A place that has no expectations of you or anyone else. A place that values imperfection, where perfection is not welcome, but imperfection and individuality are wanted. Perhaps you can find a way to travel to this place. What kind of place is it? What is your first impression of this place? What is the first thing you would see? What is the first thing you would hear? And if you could touch anything in this place, what would you touch? And what would this place smell like? Could you imagine that someone welcomes you to this place? Perhaps a friend or a guide? Someone who knows this place well. Follow this friend or guide along a path, feeling the ground underneath you as you're walking. Have your friend or guide lead you to the garden of kindness. In this garden, everyone is kind. You could do the worst thing imaginable, and still you would receive only kindness. This kindness is not dependent on what you do right or wrong. This kindness is not dependent on what you achieve or not achieve, which life path you choose, or whether you experience successes or setbacks. This kindness is always here, and you are entitled to receive it simply because you are existing. And as you enter this garden of kindness, you are welcomed by someone who hands you a beautiful flower as a gesture of kindness. What kind of flower is it? Does it come in a vase, as a pot plant, or as a smaller type of flower you could put into your hair? Your friend or guide leads you to the center of the garden where someone is waiting for you, a mentor or a teacher who will teach you about kindness, about self-acceptance, and loving yourself. How does your mentor or teacher greet you? Today, you're going to learn your first lesson in healthy imperfection. Let your teacher or mentor lead the way to a place in the garden of kindness, a place that absolutely adores you. And as soon as you enter this section of the garden, you notice that every living being in this place is delighted by your arrival and comes out to look at you with enthusiasm and joy. Have your teacher lead you to a little pond. Your teacher tells you that this pond will show your true reflection, will show you who you really are at your very core. Your teacher or mentor asks you to step forward, to kneel down and gaze into the waters of the pond. And as you follow the instructions of your mentor, the pond starts showing you a reflection of your true self. Take some time to look at it. until you can see this reflection with clarity. What do you see in the reflection? How is the pond showing you your true self? What does your true self look like? What is the difference between you and the true self you're being shown in the pond? And once you have seen your reflection clearly, sit down next to your mentor, perhaps on a bench, in the grass, or on a rock or tree trunk. Your mentor or teacher explains to you that your true self is the only one who can set any kind of standards for you. Everyone else has no right to do it. They can set standards for themselves, but not for you. And if you remember your former standards, which you did send on a holiday earlier on, which of these standards is in harmony with your true self? And what kind of standards does your true self like? Are these new standards? Perhaps standards of kindness, standards of love, standards of worthiness, or integrity, or satisfaction? What kind of standards would be healthy for your true self? What kind of standards would your mentor suggest that you have? What kind of standards would be as kind to you as this garden of kindness is to you? Your mentor or teacher may also suggest not to have any standards, to let them all go. But in order to do that, your mentor explains that you will need to have something that fuels your positivity, that fuels your excitement, your zest for life, your passion or interests. Have your mentor lead you to the edge of the garden where there is a large gate. Your mentor or teacher tells you that the path behind this gate can only be walked on by you, and that this path will lead you to your ultimate source of positivity. Take a moment to thank your mentor or teacher for showing you all this and say your goodbye. Listen if your mentor has any message for you before you embark on this path that leads to your source of positivity. Once your mentor or teacher is ready to send you off, your mentor is giving you a key. With this key in hand, begin walking on the path that leads you to your source of positivity, your fuel of passion and motivation. Your path soon stops in front of a door, and you know that your positivity source is behind this door. Use your mentor's key to open the door and walk through, where you will stand right in front of your source of positivity. How does this source of positivity appear to you? How do you feel standing next to your source of positivity? Spend a few moments with your source of positivity. Notice how you breathe. Notice how you feel. Notice how your body feels. You cannot help but being impacted by your source of positivity. It is like you and your source of positivity are becoming one the longer you are in the same place. It only takes a few moments, and your source of positivity is part of you, has merged with you, is residing within you. Your source of positivity is you. Simply rest in this feeling place for a few moments. And when you're ready, you can begin wiggling your fingers and your toes. You can take a deep, vitalizing breath in and give yourself a little stretch, opening your eyes whenever you're ready. Thank you for listening today. I hope you have enjoyed our journey to the Garden of Kindness. Take good care. Until next time.